Doran, the teller of truths. New Draenei capital on Azeroth. Trolls, new era. 10.2.7 heritage. Datamined. Are we getting a new city for the Draenei? I always thought the Exodar was one of the worst cities. It was sad, man. When the Blood Elves and the Draenei got added to the game, and I only played Alliance, Silvermoon compared to the Exodar, what a joke. But let's see the Draenei are finally getting a true city.
We have just datamined a whole ton of new NPCs for the upcoming Draenei and Troll Heritage questlines in 10.2.7, which is happening soon. The Draenei have been living in essentially a crash site, which, while it made sense back in TBC, I mean, now they're so integrated, they need an actual settlement on Azeroth. We got a ton of settler Draenei, pack mules, Alkenai priests, Naru datamined, which makes it seem like they may be building Alkidon 2.0 on Azeroth, signaling their permanent mark on the world. Alongside this, there is potential for a broken playable race with datamined broken leader as well. On the side of the Trolls, we can discover the ton of Loas and the Lari, the Darkspear, signaling they may be getting a significant update as well, but it does seem like they may just bunch up all the Trolls into one. So what is going on? And let's look at all this crazy datamined information for 10.2.7. While playing WoW on PC is great, you can also check in on your characters directly from your phone. With this video sponsor, Awesome, you can control your PC with your phone.
It is, control your PC. I would say the Darkspear Trolls have never had true, like, back lore. In terms of, like, we know where they're from and everything. What is it, the Echo Isles and stuff, but we never... You would think they'd go back eventually. Their starting zone is still the Orc starting zone. They need their own.
Custom keyboards for various games other than just WoW, and you can enjoy AFK gaming at any time, anywhere with Game Sound. Make sure to use my code Idolon to get 7 days completely free, only for the first 200 people. They also got a smart lock to turn off your PC at any time, as well as hot sales with up to 40% off on pro game versions. Check out Awesome. So there is actually a ton of new info. As you may remember, in the 2024 roadmap, which my guess is going to be happening somewhere around May, we are going to get the Troll and the Draenei Heritage questline. Seeing that 10.2.5 was just released, the information is very scant at best, but luckily we have actually datamined a ton of new NPCs that were put into the build like a few days back, and I really do mean a ton, both Draenei and Troll ones, and based on the names, some implications, recent history, what is going on, we could sort of guess where all of this is going.
The thing is, the Draenei, we were supposed to actually see a fully fleshed out Draenei city for the first time ever in WoD. In Warlords of Draenor, the Alliance was supposed to have a Draenei capital city, and the Horde was supposed to have the Ogre capital city, and Heimdall, and those things got completely axed. We got those two little shitty campsites, and we never really got to see these things realized, which is sad. I would have liked to see a Draenei city.
Before we start listing the characters and trying to get the meaning, I just want to say the Trolls and Draenei are really sticking out like sore thumbs when compared to other races. The Draenei literally crashed onto Azeroth and made a temporary makeshift camp and are living inside the ruins of a spaceship, which, of course, made a ton of sense back in TBC when the Legion was still a massive
threat. You would think they would have built a settlement by now.
They could repair it, depart at some point in the future, as soon as possible to go to another planet, and they were just constantly on the run since they left Argus like 20,000 years ago. However, so much has changed in the past few years. I mean, we stopped their main enemies, Sergeras and killed Jaden. Their entire society changed, and now they are actually bound to Azeroth, despite the fact that they haven't even been here for 2 decades. I would say they're now more bound to Azeroth than they were to Draenor, despite living there.
You gotta think 2 decades. Right, 2 decades. I mean, they have to be they had to be getting it on at some point in those 2 decades. That's a lot of babies, a lot of Draenei babies that were born on Azeroth. They are Azerothian babies. If somebody, as soon as that ship crashed, got it on, or even got it on during the crash, that would be intense, be wonderful. Probably a nice little climax there, climax right at the crash. And then 9 months later, they had a baby. That baby would now be like 19 years old. It'd be an Azerothian Draenei baby that's 19 years old. I would think at some point they would just consider themselves, that's it, Azerothian. That 19-year-old could have a baby. At 18, 9 months later, have a baby. That's possible. Could be second-generation Draenei running around at this point. I think they need a city.
for a really
Build
long
a
time.
proper
This
setup.
means that much like the Gilneans and the Night Elves and the Forsaken getting their home back and a new identity, the Draenei
Could've built an
should
entire
actually
state by then.
settle and create a
Shooting
real
that
city,
code.
a living space, and we actually have some hints for something like that happening in the very near future. Second, in regards to the trolls, I mean, apart from the
Yeah,
Zandalari
they're
that had a capital pretty much longer than any other race on Azeroth, the Darkspear are in a really weird spot. I mean, they got the Echo Isles that are like this cool zone that is just stuck in time, but it's not really a city or a proper capital, and seeing that alongside the Orcs and the Tauren, they are the original Horde races, I could see that happening as well, especially when we combine this with the NPCs we had just Datamined. So starting off with the Draenei, we got about 15, 20 new NPCs and some really big implications to go alongside that. Most importantly, there are some hints that they may be building a new Occidon on Azeroth, which could literally be huge. Now, you might remember Occidon as this ruin back from TBC, because that is exactly what it was back on Outland, but you may also remember in Worlds of Draenor what this place looked like at its peak, and it really was
waterfalls, badass.
Draenor, so seeing something like this actually on Azeroth could be an amazing new feature. Super quick lore throwback, but Occidon is like a city, a mausoleum, a holy site for the Draenei. There was Anaru, Dore, that the city was built around to study and ultimately regenerate him, and this was a city of the dead for the Draenei, a significant cultural site. They lost that, they never really had anything like that since, and from TBC and forth, I mean, they have been essentially living in a temporary camp. Now, of course, a new Occidon hasn't been confirmed on Azeroth Isles, but there are some hints pointing at something significant happening. First of all, we found a bunch of Okanai Soul Priests, which was the order that preserved this place. But most importantly, we could also datamine the Naru himself, Dore, as well. That was like the center of this form of holy site.
I guess if they do have a city, they're gonna need a Naru, right? The Draenei don't know they don't know how to have a capital city without a Naru floating in the center of it. So that's a nice hint.
Even more importantly, and I would say this is really the most important out of all these features, we can datamined a bunch of NPCs that appear to be Draenei travelers and something akin to pilgrims or settlers, as well as Pet Elec with a bunch of gear on them, which does signal that the Draenei are moving somewhere. We have datamined the robot Vigilance, which you may remember, which were these powerful constructs inhabited by the souls of the greatest Eredar warriors. However, most importantly, we have datamined a ton of significant Draenei characters, some alive, some dead, that you may remember from the books in the previous history. We got Hataru, that was killed by the Horde, Maladar, one of the 5 Draenei leaders that is instrumental with the Okanai. We got Artificer Rommel, of course, we got Velen as the main guy, and a whole bunch of leaders from Draenei past that fell defending their people, so very iconic figures. Now, very interestingly as well, we have also datamined Chieftain Hatun of the Broken. You might remember the video from the past I did, like...
Do people really want playable Broken? I don't think that's even one that people really care that much about. I could be wrong, but I feel like there's so many... I feel like Tuskar are way more in demand than... If we get broken before Tuskar, people might be broken in real life. They just might break. That'd be a sad moment. But I don't know, I guess broken, fine, but I don't really care to have them.
A few months back, as I stated, there is very high evidence we could get the Broken as an actual customization, a potentially new allied race. We already had the Manari and that questline that were technically Draenei enemies that are now playable, so there is literally nothing stopping, like lore-wise, from getting these fallen Draenei like the Broken from joining their people back, and the only thing that might actually be stopping them is the fact that they may be more difficult to implement, at least from the technical side. Now,
I think they're their own unique skeletons,
just
so it might be a little
NPCs, but I want to state a few very obvious things. I don't think we are getting a gigantic new city in 10.2.7. I think this is a setup for Midnight where it might actually happen. You all know Midnight isn't just avoid invasion.
We do know that the Draenei are, you know, I mean, they came into the game with the Blood Elves. We know for a fact Silvermoon's getting completely revamped, all new, everything, and they're talking about it being like not just a regular city revamp. Like, this is going to be a complete rebuild, which they have to do because you can't even fly in Silvermoon yet. But maybe, you know, Blood Elves were introduced with the Draenei. Maybe the Draenei get some love in Midnight too, considering they both joined the game at the same time.
But also a light invasion at the same time. Now with the Scarlets from 10.2.5, there are some hints that a fanatical light invasion may be happening, but also
you really need big new cities when the cities we have are dead as fuck.
We will fight the void together with the
light. You make a great point, Ducati, and they need to fix that. There has to be somebody on one of my YouTube videos made a great freaking comment that I loved. And their comment was, okay, we're getting Gilneas back. You know, we're getting a revamped Silver Moon. We could, okay, get a Draenei city now, whatever. But he said we're getting all these cities, all these races are getting property. I've said like rebuild Lordaeron, that would be amazing. Make it cross faction, undead and humans can go to Lordaeron, that would be awesome. Rebuild all these cities, but give us a reason for them. He said, what if we had a rotating hub city, where like every week or 2 weeks or whatever, or every month, the new hub city where like all the quests come from, where everything happens, is rotated, and that would just move the player base from city to city. It would give you a new aesthetic every week or month, whatever. It would give you a new feel. It would also take the player population and move them as one. I think that would be awesome. I would love that. You know, maybe the banks become active at that time. The vendors move. Maybe the trading post moves to that city, because the trading post is a traveling thing anyways. They should be able to move. They should be able to pack it up and move it. So I definitely think there's ways to kind of bring life to each of these cities one at a time, whatever it is. But that definitely needs to happen, because, yeah, you're right. Rebuilding all these cities and they're just fucking ghost towns. What's the point? Nobody's ever going to go to them. They don't have a bank and shit.
In the final battle on Azeroth. Well, the Draenei are incredibly closely tied to the Naru. The light itself, they literally shape them. And
yeah, Ducati, that's because every expansion has its own hub city, so nobody goes to Stormwind
like a site of either a past light invasion or maybe an injured Naru that is transforming into a being of the void, and the Draenei definitely have experience with that. The void invasion is happening through the Sunwell, which is also Naru based, so all in all, we're getting a ton of Naru, light hints on Azeroth in Midnight, and the Draenei are definitely going to be instrumental in that, because no one knows the Naru better than the Draenei. I think much like the other
but Outland's not on Azeroth.
Identity and settling on Azeroth,
they need a city on
Draenei are finally going to do that as well. They really have no other place in the universe to call home, seeing that Argus was destroyed, and I think they will finally build an actual city that signals their permanent settlement on this planet. I may be thinking, I mean, how is that even going to happen? I mean, Azermist is so...
I don't think they want to go back to Outland. You guys got to remember, Outland is a broken land. It was Draenor. They don't probably see the Outland as their home anymore. You guys are saying you could go back to the Outland. They probably don't see it as their home. It'd be like the Earth shattering into a million pieces, and the humans find a home on Mars, and then all the Martians keep saying, oh, those humans could go back to those floating rocks that used to be Earth and rebuild their settlements. I don't think we'd care to do that. It's not the same anymore. It's not home anymore.
Super irrelevant, but it might not happen.
They probably just want to live on Azeroth.
I think all of this can be tied into the light side of the story that is obviously going to be happening in the War Within and Midnight as well. And I think this new Heritage questline is going to just be the start, the foundation of this new storyline. Additionally, with the Draenei, we always have Yrel that is leading that fanatical light army on alternate Draenor that may be evil. So big things could be happening with that as well. Maybe even another split in their society. Now, in terms of the trolls, we got a bit of a less clear picture of what is going to be happening, but luckily we can datamined a whole bunch of NPCs where we can kind of guess where it might be going towards. As I stated, the trolls are also in a similar position, the Darkspear at least. They recently lost their leader, Vol'jin. They're definitely stuck in a time loop from Cataclysm, and they are in a really big need of a revamp and an actual place to call home, at least an updated place to call home. Now, unfortunately, based on the datamined hints, it does seem like they may be bunching all the trolls into one, so maybe getting the Darkspear and the Zandalari in one, as we can discover the Zandalari and the Darkspear.
They're gonna bunch the trolls. They're bunching the elves. I mean, that was already confirmed at Midnight. We're gonna get like a combination of the High Elves, the Void Elves, the Blood Elves. They're all gonna be kind of together and one package deal, so I think they're going to do the same with the trolls
as well. However, we can datamined Rokan, the Darkspear chieftain, which signals something big happening with the Darkspear in particular. Interestingly enough, we had also discovered Kieran Bloodhoof and Bane as well, which might be
go back in time
memory or something similar. But you may remember back in Warcraft 3 how important Kieran was to the foundation of the Horde and the Darkspear, so he may even be some type of like a Loa spirit. Alongside this, we can discover a whole bunch of Loa, which is obviously an important thing in Troll Society, and it seems like Muezala and Bonsabdi are returning in a new storyline. Muezala is called the imprisoned Loa of Death, while Bonsabdi is obviously just called the Loa of Death, and by this point, like, he is our ally. Unfortunately though, at this point in time, we have not heard a single thing about Vol'jin. We haven't datamined him, but seeing that we had an entire storyline back in Shadowlands where he was set to become a Loa, I think it is highly likely we might be seeing him in this Troll Heritage questline. As remember, all this is just super proper early data mine information at this point in time.
True.
Now this is a little
More
bit
stuff
of
could
a
still get
weird
added.
mix of characters like Witch Doctors and Dalari, Darkspear Leader, Loa of Death,
New
Father
class,
Loa,
Witch
so
Doctor.
I mean this storyline can go in any direction. However, based on the logic that the Forsaken, Gilnean, the Night Elven heritage had to deal with loose ends and creating a new settlement, I could see the focus of this being on the Darkspear getting updates and more information on their home, like sort of updating everything that is currently stuck in Cataclysm. With the very early information, realistically, we have twice as much info about the Draenei than we do about the Trolls, at least at this point in time. Now,
Interesting.
don't get
probably
your
just doing
hopes
them
like
first
this is not going to be like an
terms of
expansion's
uploading.
worth of content and we're getting like 3 gigantic cities. As remember, the recent heritage questlines, while being interesting, have been quite short. Some of them have been like not even that good, and none of them brought a crazy revamp aside from the Night Elven one, which wasn't really heritage questline. This was like a significant storyline of Dragonfight itself. However, what they all did was set up future storylines and foreshadow
they're
things
doing.
that are going to happen. So I could
This
only
is all
see
like
this laying the
pre-patch,
foundation for a new holy sign
pre-expansion.
for the Draenei and their permanent settlement on Azeroth, and also the Trolls getting their new home, and all of this happening either throughout the War Within and Midnight. Remember, Midnight is about the light and the void and the Trolls in Quota Last, and all these concepts involve the two races, the Draenei and the Trolls. Thank you for watching.
Sure.
Check out how the Scarlets are summoning the fanatical light on Azeroth by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on ancient Greek colonies in Spain by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time!
Yeah, interesting video. Like, I think the main thing what was mentioned in chat, that okay, we're gonna get all these cities, that's fine, we add more cities to the game, but what's the point if they're just ghost towns? I definitely think Blizzard needs to implement some type of system that creates a rolling hub city, you know, where it changes every week or whatever, and that'll just bring life to the city of the week or city of the month, whatever it is, and that'll be the best way to, you know, make Azeroth feel bigger, make it feel more unique, change the aesthetic every week. That'll be fun. I hope they do it, and I hope this Draenei stuff happens too.